You're listening to From There to Here, a Star Trek Enterprise podcast. Hello, my name is Josh, and with me is
Justin.
We're back from our 1 week break. I was sick last week, but whatever, who cares? Today it's season 2, episode 2, Carbon Creek. I've been really looking forward to this one, and I was not disappointed. But before we get into the discussion further, on the IMDb, this is what it says it's about. On the first anniversary of her assignment to Enterprise, T'Pol tells Archer and Trip about the first contact between humans and Vulcans, which involves 3 Vulcans becoming stranded in the town of Carbon Creek, Pennsylvania in 1957. This is rated as, I agree, 8.5 out of 10. The internet got it right this time. Okay.
All right. This has an original air date of September 25th, 2002. And there's a couple little tidbits of trivia here. Let's see. The first one is J. Paul Boehmer. I think that's how you say it. Who played Mistral, who is the tall kind of main Vulcan guy of the group. His character, Mistral, was named after George de Mistral, the inventor of Velcro, which is fitting.
How about that?
Given about Velcro showing up in the episode. This same actor, J. Paul Boehmer, I want to say that's how it is, Boehmer, also played the main Borg in One, the episode of Voyager, really good episode, and he did really well. He's played a Nazi twice for Star Trek. And there was something else. Let's see. Let me go down.
I wonder if that's a good thing to point out on your resume. I was a Nazi in this, and I was a Nazi.
He has a very striking look. He either looks like an alien or a Nazi. Let's see. Where'd it go? When I have to scroll away, I lose my place. The episode was nominated for a Hugo Award. And I'll read this a little bit too. Author Homer Hickam saw the episode and wrote, quote, "I have little doubt that the writers were inspired by my book, Rocket Boys, and its film adaptation, October Sky. And the, quote, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, so I'm pleased by the show."
Do you know what else I think they were inspired by?
No.
Coneheads.
Coneheads? That name is Conehead?
You don't think so? There's some striking similarities.
I would never have thought it, but now that you say it, I think this is Coneheads and October Sky
mixed
in a
together.
blender.
It's shaken up and put out. Yeah.
Hickam. My name is Homer Hickam. Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. Well, I didn't bury the lead. This is one of my favorite episodes. This is one of those instances where while we're watching it together and I forget to take notes or, write down things that I like because I get involved in the episode.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. I got to write this down. And this is one of those episodes. And I had a week to think about this because I was sick, but this is what Star Trek is best at. And I don't know if you were having a similar argument, but it's allegory. Mm-hmm. What science fiction is really good at is creating allegory. And this is what Star Trek always did best. Yeah. It would create this allegory, which is basically an immigration story. Mm-hmm. And these are immigrants, like in Coneheads.
France. We come from France.
Fine, sir. They're immigrants. They come to America, not willingly. They don't really want to be here at first. But when they come to America
and they assimilate,
they start to like it. And they see how good America is. Mm-hmm. And they want to stay. Well, in Coneheads, they do. One guy, what's his name? Morval, the character's name?
Which?
The Vulcan we were talking about.
Oh, Mistral. I thought you were talking about Coneheads.
No, that's Beldar. Mistral wants to stay, and he does. Yeah. Because he's grown to like the people.
Right.
He sees the good in them. And that's kind of what America is all about. It's a great place of opportunity for great things. Mm-hmm. And that's what Star Trek always did really well. And it pains me that it doesn't do that anymore.
No.
It has, and I'm not gonna bury my thoughts on controversial subjects anymore. because I don't want to be milquetoast. You know, this is a podcast.
Well, Josh, I'm used to you censoring yourself, so this is going to be a shock to me.
Well, full disclosure, when it comes to doing these podcasts, when it comes to certain controversial things, I won't go into that area. I want to try to be as balanced as I can be. But
you usually let me wax poetic for a while.
For you, sure. But I think you do practice some self-censorship to some degree.
Sure, to some degree.
But I don't really want to do that anymore because I know that I'm right.
That's
I know that
healthy attitude to have.
Yes, I know that the Star Trek that we grew up on, Star Trek: The Next Generation, is better.
Yes.
What they're making now is absolute dog shit, and that's just why I don't watch it. What I had,
it's shale.
It is shale.
It's shale.
It's digger meat. It's shale.
It's just no good.
It's no good. It's so bad. And I know people use this expression a lot. They say Gene Roddenberry would be spinning in his grave, and that's no joke.
It's true.
And you don't have to see what Roddenberry would be doing. Look at William Shatner. He's still alive. Mm-hmm. And they have turned their back on William Shatner because they don't like Captain Kirk. They think Captain Kirk is
a chauvinist and all this stuff.
I know. He's everything that they don't want men to be, which is strong, courageous,
charismatic.
He
heterosexual.
Very heterosexual.
What's wrong with that?
Very masculine, which they don't like. The writers of Star Trek today do not like that.
Which is a shame, because if they actually, I think what they're responding to is the idea of Kirk. Kirk in the show and even in the movies, he is take charge. He's a leader. He's masculine. But what he is not is, oh gosh, what's the word? Obnoxious in his masculinity.
Arrogant.
He's not. He rides the line with arrogance, but in a good way. What's his name? Who produced the movies? Harve Bennett. Harve Bennett really said it best. He said the big three of the original series, it's a perfect triad. He said you have the logical Spock, the passionate Doctor, and you have Kirk at the top, who is a blend of both of them. And if any of these people that are bad-mouthing Kirk, or I should say the idea of Kirk, if they went and actually watched what Kirk did, he was always thoughtful. I just rewatched, for example, last night, I just rewatched Balance of Terror. And there's a scene in the episode where the navigator sitting next to Sulu is blatantly being racist towards Spock. And when he says something, Kirk comes up to him and he goes, you want to say that again? And then he goes, well, I don't really know if Mr. Spock, and Kirk nods his head, starts to step away, and in that awesome William Shatner way, takes the guy and spins him towards camera and himself. And he goes, now listen, mister, you leave any bigotry in your quarters. There's no room for it here on the bridge. Do you understand me? And the guy says, yeah, that's it. And so Kirk in that moment dealt with racism appropriately as a commander, and he didn't mince words. He didn't gently rub that guy's feelings. He told him that is absolutely unacceptable. But then what he did in every scene after is move on. He allowed that guy to stay at his post, to learn his lesson, and move on. He was a balanced leader. Exactly what you would want him to do. And there's a handful of occasions, not a many, but there's a handful of occasions where Kirk would come barreling through the bridge, barking out orders in a really foul mood. And there's one episode, I couldn't tell you which one specifically, but there's one where he's telling Uhura, get these people on the comm system. And she's like, I can't. They're not answering whatever. And he goes, well, that's not good enough, Lieutenant. And stops and goes, I'm sorry. That wasn't for you. He was just frustrated. So it's unfortunate that Kirk is being dismissed because they don't know Kirk. Just like, I'm jumping topics, but real quick, just like with Bond, and the rumblings of how Bond is a chauvinist and all of that stuff. Watch a Bond movie. Just watch it. First of all, he's not the only one. Okay, it's the world he lives in. It's not like he's some anomaly in the world. But that's 60s Bond, you know? And 60s Bond, what he never did was lie. He never lied to any of the women that he hooked up with, anything like that. He was straight up. And they knew. You watch any one of those movies, they have no expectations that Bond will be there in the morning or anything like that. He is an efficient officer of the Queen's whatever. He's a professional, and what he does with his personal life, he's very open about. So get over it. You know, so yes, long story short, I'm completely going along with what you say. It's modern day Trek is garbage. And this, while it's definitely at the tail end of what would you call this period of Trek? There's classic Trek, then there's modern day Trek. So what is TNG through Enterprise? What do you want? What would that era be called? You know, classic, modern. What's in the middle?
Well, I was thinking
the golden age of Trek.
I was thinking I would probably phrase it this way: the original series would be in the movies would be the golden age of Trek.
Okay.
TNG, Enterprise, Voyager, DS9, modern, postmodern is what we have now.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
But you know, I agree with you. Modern day Trek is, and this episode was the personification of it. Was just wonderful. It's just like Dear Doctor. It's just this. Was good writing in a good setup, good setting, everything
with
came
characters
together.
that you
care about. We never met before the character of Mistral, never met him again, but you are so caught into his journey. And even Tamir, the descendant, or not descendant,
the great grandmother.
Yeah, great. What's the opposite of descendant?
Ancestor.
Yeah, thank you. T'Pol's ancestor.
Yes.
She's not T'Pol, but she is T'Pol. You know, she's kind of the same character, but you're completely into it. And it's such a shame there wasn't more like this, even from Enterprise, you know, because I think the writers were still on, you know, that could have done this. They were probably experiencing some burnout, you know, with Trek as a whole.
Do you think at this point they were hitting burnout?
I think so. I mean, we ran into that one. What was it? Oasis? Is that the one? With Odo?
Yes, that is
the
that
one where they just blatantly copied another episode.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure the writers at this point were burning out.
I don't know if that was burnout and more than simple incompetence.
Yes, but as a whole, I'm sure it was probably difficult for them to keep up their energy. You know, I think Brandon Braga, gosh, he had been attached with TNG going mid series at that point. How long had he been doing?
Well, it wasn't just him. There was other people on staff writing shows.
That's my point. Is that how many people had been doing that for a hot 20 years?
Sure.
That had to be just creatively exhausting. You know?
Yes, I agree. I think by the time they got to Enterprise, now that you put it in that context, yes, they would have been burned out. And I think they rightfully so, they did pull the plug and allowed Star Trek to take a break for a little while.
Yeah.
Just like, was Enterprise necessary? No, of course not. I mean, DS9 wasn't necessary. Voyager wasn't necessary. But what was I thinking of? There's something that came after. Nemesis. Star Trek Nemesis.
Oh, okay.
Like, after that, bombed. And Enterprise was canceled. You're like, that's it. Star Trek is over. I mean, there's no more.
And they cut Rick Berman off.
Yeah, it was like this is the end of Star Trek, or it's the end of an era. Nobody really knew what it was. But I
wonder what modern day, postmodern Trek would be like if they went to Rick Berman, say, because Discovery started it all again. If they had gone to Rick Berman and said, "You're in charge. This is what we'd like to see for Discovery, but you're in charge. Make it." I wonder what post Trek would be like if he was in charge still.
Well, I think it would still have the original soul of
I'd like
Star
to think
Trek
it would. People
in
get
there.
Berman crap, but he really held that mantle. I don't agree with all of his choices. You know, people have commented about like the music being very bland and that he wanted that. I don't agree with that, but I'm a music buff. But I will give him complete credit for maintaining what he believed to be Roddenberry's vision. You know, and he stuck to it. He could have bent, but he didn't. He held fast, and I got to give him credit for that. You know, and people also give crap to Braga. That dude wrote and or produced some of the best episodes of modern Trek, but people always give him grief, and I don't think that's
because
fair.
He wrote Threshold.
It's fun.
I mean, it's a
damn shade better than
I'm
Rogue
not
Planet.
saying that to be funny. I'm saying that because it's true. People give him grief because he wrote one of the most notoriously bad episodes, which it isn't.
No, it's not.
Episodes that are apparently has ever been written, and that's all anybody ever wants to. Well, that's not all they do, but they love to bring it up.
I didn't even know that till right now that he wrote that episode. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that he writes a lot of good stuff and then he makes a stinker. An apparent stinker, and he's basically marked like with a scarlet letter for the rest of his career. Like, oh, you wrote that? Never mind.
That's a real shame. Do you really think it's because of that?
Well, I'm being hyperbolic here. I don't know if it affected his career to that extent, but I know it marked him in a way.
He even did a TV show after Voyager called Threshold.
Yeah, I think we brought that up at one point. I don't know if it was on the show or somewhere
I couldn't
else.
say.
Sometimes it's hard to distinguish between what we say in real life and then when we're doing this. But we really should get back to
probably
the episode at hand here. We kind of went off on a tangent, and we kind of like to pride ourselves in the fact that we don't go off on tangents that often. But
we were talking about Star Trek, so that's fair.
We were, but I think it was as a foundation of what this episode was, which, well, what it turned out to be, which is that it embodies kind of what Star Trek is really great at, which is, again, that allegory.
Well, let me ask you for fun.
It can be done clumsily. I mean, when you look at, Let Your Last Battlefield was on the other day, and I mean that's just so in your face, like about what it's about, and it's not at all subtle.
Lokai, I don't see what is the difference between you and Thor, whatever his name.
You can't see it. Are you blind?
Are you blind?
Yes.
I am white on the right side. Loki is white on the left side. All of his people are left on the white on the left side. Can't you see it? They're animals.
Exactly. But okay, so we're talking about Carbon Creek.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you about Carbon Creek.
Right. What about it?
We both liked the episode.
I liked it a lot. I still do.
Is there anything you would nitpick just for fun?
That I would, well, I think I already brought that up. It's striking similarity to Coneheads. I never thought about Rocket Boys, October Sky. I know that the novel is called Rocket Boys.
The aesthetic certainly feels like it, of course.
Yes. I mean,
they're in the mining town. You know,
it's a small mining town.
Yeah.
The people there, sure.
But there wasn't a cool scene where the Vulcan grabbed a guy that was hitting his kid and said, "You ever feel like hitting someone? Come and hit me."
Yeah, that's Chris Cooper.
Yeah.
Great freaking actor, man.
Owning that scene like a boss.
I'd like to see Chris Cooper in a Star Trek movie. But anyway, that would have been cool.
As a villain.
Anything. That guy's awesome.
Yeah,
anyway.
I agree.
But I think, in terms of nitpicking, if I was changing anything.
Yeah, sure. Anything.
I mean.
Not necessarily writer's room, but just stuff, anything you didn't like?
No, I mean, it's like I told you, when I was sitting there watching it, I got so enveloped in the story so quickly. It didn't bother me that, okay, I'll point this out as a plus. It's not a nitpick. But I noticed that because they were aliens, alien planet.
Yeah. English.
Logically, you think, and they've done this before, they don't have their universal translator.
Right.
They didn't even bother with that. That's not the point.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's an immigrant story. That's the important part. That's what they stick with. They don't bother with that technical minutia. And I love that they did that. Mm-hmm. They didn't even address it. They just
no point.
They already speak English, and you buy into it.
It's not that kind of a movie.
Right.
Like Harrison Ford would say, "It ain't that kind of movie, kid."
That's Harrison Ford?
Yeah. When they were doing the scene when they come out of the trash compactor and they were all wet and, from the water in the trash compactor, the scene where they're putting their clothes on afterward.
Oh, you mean in real life he said this to someone?
Okay. Mark Hamill was, he.
This is Star Wars, by the way.
This is Star Wars,
you didn't clarify what the movie this
Mark
was.
Hamill turned to George Lucas and said, "George, I think we have a continuity error. We just came from there. Shouldn't we all be more wet?" And then Harrison Ford leaned in and goes, "Kid, if they're looking at your hair, we're not doing something right. It ain't that kind of movie. That was it. He's right.
Yeah. Well, did you have any nitpicks? Seems like you're asking me because you do.
I have a little one.
Okay.
It's minor. It's very nitpicky, but it is something that you and I have noticed with Enterprise, that there have been a handful of episodes that have had weak teasers, pre-credit scenes.
Yeah, there's been some.
And
you thought this was weak?
In the way that it leaves. It doesn't have any bum, bum, bum.
Oh, sure.
You know, it just kind of fades out.
Yes, but that didn't bother me because this episode isn't very bum, 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 bum heavy.
No, I know.
It moves along at a very casual pace.
Yeah.
It's an emotional story.
Sure.
You know, so it didn't bother me. And quite frankly, you know, I was so, I don't know.
Profound.
You know, Jolene Blaylock did such a good job
she did.
narrating the story to Trip and Archer.
Yeah.
That I didn't think about it. The way she told the story was good enough and captivating enough, even for a Vulcan who aren't known to be storytellers. I was like, and it was a yarn she was spinning. Was she spinning it? They didn't know. By the end, they thought they'd been had.
Yeah. At the end, they really aren't sure.
So I thought, you know, the setup was interesting, although it wasn't suspenseful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was intrigued. Was that your only nitpick?
Yeah, that was it.
I thought every element in the story worked. Mm-hmm. There was only one salacious moment where, where what did you say? It's very, what was the word you used?
What was the word I used? Shoot.
I can't remember what you said.
Well, it's when Tamir and Mistral they find someone's clothes hanging outside to dry.
They need to get out of their Vulcan uniforms.
Yeah, they have to change so they can blend in. And of course, there's a big white sheet lit by the sun from behind.
So you can see their silhouettes.
So you can see her silhouette. And she is clearly completely naked because, I mean, you see the outline of her
breasts, of her boobies,
the nipples, everything. Yeah. Like, she was obviously, the actress was naked underneath that, and then came and put her clothes on and all of that. And salacious? Did I say salacious?
Oh, I did.
Did you? Okay. It was okay. I thought it was, again, just like the decon scenes. It was unnecessary.
Yeah. This seemed a bit more so.
Because it felt so tonally out of place with the episode as a whole.
Yeah, they're in a quaint 50s town.
Yeah, it was so unnecessary. It absolutely didn't need to be done like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, there were...
I would think Blaylock would go, come on, guys. You know, you'd think.
Clearly, at this point, she's not going to. I mean, she's been doing the show for a year at this point, and she's done it how many times?
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, she let her boobs fall into Archer's face.
That's true. And I mean, she didn't... Obviously, she in real life is augmented. It's not like she got those not to show them off. So, I mean, I guess so.
That's a good point.
I mean, that's not a dig. She's an actress. Those are clearly implants. And, you know, that's not a small reason why she why she got the job, you know? So, I mean, yeah, I suppose if you got it, flaunt it, you know? But that part just stuck out. But the whole episode as a whole is fantastic.
I mean, it is like you said, it isn't T'Pol, but it is T'Pol. It is a T'Pol story. Yeah, it's told by T'Pol.
Yeah. It's about T'Pol's ancestor.
Right. Blaylock is playing her ancestor. And it's kind of a balance between her and the male Vulcan.
Mistral.
I keep forgetting his name. Mistral. Those two. There's a third Vulcan who looks like Mo from the Three Stooges,
which they make a joke about.
Who was funny. Yeah. He's in there just enough to balance out those two.
Yeah, he needed to be a bridge between them.
Yeah, and the fact that the story is so simple.
I love the little bits. Of Mistral, like the first hint that you realize. I mean, aside from the fact that he's obviously very curious and he's enjoying kind of what's going on. The first joke about him assimilating is he's watching TV. And he says,
the way he's watching TV is like he's meditating. He's got his hands up in like a prayer pose. but it's what Vulcans do when they meditate.
Yeah,
and he's like actually watching TV, and it makes it look almost like he's doing something legitimate because he's doing that. It's like he's not vegetating.
Right.
He's researching. That's what he says.
That's he keeps making that excuse.
No, it's research.
Yeah,
it's research. And he's
studying.
He's watching like an old Cowboys and Indians movie.
But then he has to go do something, and he goes, "No, I have to leave now. I have to come back 8:00. Lucy is on." And he's
I don't
not
want to miss
kidding.
I Love Lucy.
Like he wants to watch.
But
I
it's
Love
actually
Lucy.
a lie because he's going to go see Maggie.
Yeah,
the attractive bar owner.
one of John Cusack's sisters, brother or sister. Yes, he has 2 sisters.
That's a Cusack?
Yeah, that's Cusack.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. Yeah. Okay.
She's also in Grosse Pointe Blank, by the way, with John Cusack.
Yeah, during the high school reunion.
The drunk scene.
Yes.
At the bar.
Yes.
Yeah. When she goes, "Where you been?" He goes, "Oh, I've been selling chicken across the heartland."
No, he says, "Oh, I work for Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'm selling chicken across the heartland."
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Yeah, that was
lie.
her. Yeah.
Yes. I used that line once in a college class because when they were going around, it was the first day of class. They were going around asking people like, "What do you do? What do you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I work for Kentucky Fried Chicken. I deliver chicken across the heartland." And people like believed me, and I was like, "Okay."
No one got it.
I was like, "Okay, sure," because somebody brought it up again later. Like days later.
Like, "Hey Josh, you sell chicken."
Like, yeah, you work for Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? I was like,
"What's up with the recipe?"
Sure, I do. Yes. Also, in a college class, I told somebody I worked for the CIA, and they believed that too. So, anyway, I don't think there's many specifics about the story that I really wanted to nail down, other than its broad. I think I just wanted to stick with its broad strokes of this group of immigrants that come to America.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how they're going to survive, but through the compassion, kindness of strangers who help them out, they're able to make something a decent enough life for themselves and actually start to not thrive, but do okay.
They're doing fine. Yeah.
And the Mo guy is the Mo.
He doesn't enjoy
the Mo
his
Vulcan
job.
is a plumber, and
yeah. But even at the end, when they know their ship is coming, and he comes back and he's fixing something, and they go, and I think it's Tamir that goes, "Why are you still fixing that? We're leaving tomorrow." Right. And he said, "But Mrs. So-and-so asked me to fix it." And
so I
said
promised her I would have it done.
So he wants to go home, but he's not completely disassociated from this environment.
Which is something that they've been having conflict with. The conflict is primarily, it's all actually through, what are their names
Mistral,
again? Mistral and
Tamir.
And Tamir. It's all through them.
Yeah.
Tamir wants to not interfere.
At all. Yeah.
But he wants to. He wants, when there's a mining accident, he wants to go get his phaser and get them out. She doesn't want that.
He even says, "They're my friends.
They're my friends. I have to help
them.
Don't try to stop me."
Yeah, and he means it.
Oh, he means it, but because he's acclimated, because he started to like these people, and like you just said, he said they are my friends.
Mm-hmm. And Tamir, though she won't admit it, has come to think of them the same way.
Well,
I mean, she gets the money for the boy.
She looks right. This is something she does not tell anybody.
Right. Not him.
Not even the other 2 Vulcans. She, even before that moment, you can tell she has an interest in the mother, in the Maggie and her son.
Yeah. Especially him, because he's interested in sciences and things like that. And that piques her interest.
Yeah. It surprises her.
Yeah.
She didn't,
she thought they're all simpletons.
Well, when she's the first critic, when they land and they're walking around, and she's like, "Oh, it's amazing. These people could even put an artificial satellite in orbit."
Right.
She has no faith in them. But then she begins to see what he sees earlier.
Yeah.
Which is their good qualities
and their potential. Their potential.
Yes. Their good qualities. And they're keen to point out that Earth isn't exactly a safe place at this time.
They recognize that nuclear war could happen at any time.
This is the 40s. They show the White Sands missile nuclear bomb test, so at least we know it's still in World War II just before it ends. So we know it's probably around 1944 or 1945.
Right.
So yeah, not a great place. They bring that up, not a safe place, excuse me. They bring up the fact that they could blow themselves up, and but there's doubt as to whether or not that's actually going to happen. She believes yes, he believes no, and I enjoyed that conflict between those two, because that's kind of like what. They become the surrogate for, that cynicism that comes with, I'm not sure what the correct phrase I'm looking for is, but I think living in America, so I couldn't help myself, is the country isn't perfect. No country is, but we strive to do the best we can, and we want to be. And it really is an amazing place. It really is. And that's what, I forgot his name again, Mistral. I don't know why I can't remember this. That's what Mistral sees in these people. He sees the good, he sees the potential, and he sees they want to be good. But then you have that counterbalance where, like, well, look, they're just savages. They're gonna blow themselves up. But I think you're throwing in the white flag too early. You're discounting them too quickly. That's not fair. Look at what else they can do. Anyway, what did you have to add?
Oh, well, I was going to ask you a question. So the episode ends. Well, not the episode. The story ends with T'Pol telling Archer and Trip that Mistral stayed behind. Tamir and Mo go back. Yes. They get rescued. A Vulcan ship and takes them. And Mistral chooses to stay. He stays on Earth. And so that's the end of her story, where they say he just stayed. And she said,
100 years or so.
Theoretically, until the end of his life. She said there's basically, as far as we know, he never left. So he lived and died on Earth. And you're of course left to wonder.
He could have taken a wife, had a child.
You have to imagine he did. Yeah. So I would love to have had a follow-up to that story. I mean, yes, it's fun just to wonder. Maybe you should never get a sequel to that. But how does that story end? How does an alien who looks visually different from everyone, how does he and who lives a long lifespan, how does he live that life on Earth? What influences did he have on Earth? Where did he go?
I would have loved to. Yes, I think it's better in your imagination.
Sure.
But I would have loved to have seen a follow up with that character. That actor is so much fun.
Yeah, I know. We love that actor.
So,
I imagine
I would have liked it a lot.
Do you want a writer's room, a sequel?
Sure. I mean, because we don't have a writer's room for this episode.
No, because I thought it was great just the way it was.
It was fine. Yes.
Okay, so the next step, not the next episode, but the follow-up episode, following only him. He told us in the episode that he was going to leave Carbon Creek and, explore the world. He said there's so much to see. He wants to see.
Do you want it to be like a Forrest Gump story where he sees all these major events of the late 20th century?
That's exactly what it should be. Okay. And I think the first thing he's going to do, he's going to find the right place.
He's going to run across country.
No, he's going to find the right doctor.
He's going to fight in Vietnam.
He's going to find the right doctor to get cosmetic surgery to fix his ears. He's going to say it was a genetic deformity. Can you please fix me?
Just like in Coneheads. He got his teeth fixed.
Yeah.
He got caps.
So I think he's going to get his ears rounded so he can just be like everybody else. But then, so he wants to check out the world, but he still has to have money. So what's he going to do for money? What's he going to do? He's very smart.
Should it be like a Rain Man story where not like Rain Man,
he could go to Vegas and just win a crap ton of money and move on.
Sure.
He doesn't know he's not from the future, so he can't like play the stock markets, but what he could do is bet on cards, And
I don't like that route.
Just to get some money.
I'm gonna tell you right now, maybe just to get money, but I don't like that if he stays in it for too long.
No, I don't mean to imply that he stays in it
because he's a virtuous character.
I just think he gets it just enough so he can live the life he wants to live. And maybe invest in something because he's smart. And he figures computers are definitely going somewhere.
Whatever he ends up doing, I mean, I wouldn't mind if he had some kind of globe-trotting adventure like Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
And he's in Dealey Plaza when Kennedy gets killed.
Okay.
Maybe he's working at NASA when they land on the moon.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Something like that. He experiences all these major events of the late 20th century.
A floor technician somewhere in NASA and maybe fixed one little piece of something on the moon lander that would have gone wrong.
Maybe he was one of the guys that was key in getting Apollo 13 home.
Sure, why not?
Something.
Yeah, anything.
But whatever it is, he's going to use his skills to help humanity. That's what he's going to end up doing as he assimilates into the culture.
Yeah, I agree completely.
I mean, I think it would be great to see him in the different eras, in the 70s
because he would live so
garb,
long.
in the 80s garb.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he actually did help introduce some kind of like technology. Maybe he was responsible for cell phones. Maybe he helped bring those around.
Sure.
I mean, something like that could be fun. But whatever it is, I think it would have to be good for humanity.
Ha! I got a joke.
So maybe not cell phones; those are bad.
So what if halfway through this follow-up episode, he's he's taken a fake Earth name and had his ears bobbed and all that. He gets involved with someone. Actually, what year was he in? They were in the 40s,
mid 40s. Mm-hmm.
So maybe would it be in the 50s ish? You'll see where I'm going. Wherever the correct time frame would be, he meets a woman, has a brief, just like he had a kind of brief interaction in Carbon Creek with someone. Mm-hmm. He actually has a relationship. He's intimate with this woman, but then he's moving on. He's doing his Forrest Gump thing, so he moves on. You forget all about that. But at the very end of the episode, cut to a hospital, and that woman is going into labor. And what's your name, ma'am? Oh, it's something Jobs, or whatever. You find out that his kid is Steve Jobs, or some freakishly intelligent
human. The kid
human.
would have pointy ears, though.
That's a very good point.
Or at least slightly pointy.
Or my name is something Musk. And everyone go, oh, I knew it. He's an alien.
That would be kind of funny.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Just to have his kid be someone that everyone went, oh, he's not right.
It would be funny, but I think it would not be forgiven. I think it would be too much.
Yeah, all right.
I like the idea of him having a kid, though.
Yeah.
Definitely having maybe more than one. I think.
But you're right, though. They'd have pointed ears. It wouldn't work.
Maybe even more than one wife. I mean, I don't mean at the same time, but I mean, since he would live so long.
Like Highlander?
Maybe he lived, to have another wife later on.
Mm-hmm.
Another child. I like that a lot. But I really like the idea of him kind of going through the decades.
And seeing
60s,
history's
70s,
biggest
80s,
events.
Being around for that kind of stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
That could have been really fun.
I think it would have been. For him to be watching TV when they land on the moon,
Sure.
And to know that he flew right by it once, and all of that. Just all these things that he's seeing us awaken, to, and all of that. Yeah, that'd be fascinating. Fascinating.
Well, it'll never happen.
Nope.
But it's nice to think about in our writer's room anyway.
Yeah.
You listening out there? Star Trek writers? Rick Berman.
Too many Ricks.
Well, I think we can move on to awards.
I don't have any.
Well, I did. Well, I did have some trivia for you.
Whoa.
You did get one of them already, though, during our conversation. It was
Mistral.
Good Lord.
She altered history, by the way.
Mistral with the Velcro.
Tamir, the Velcro. It was pretty blatant.
It was. Mistral was, he went out to do such and such, but he wanted to get back in time to watch
I Love Lucy. Right.
Okay, here's one you might not remember.
Okay.
Maggie's son, Maggie, the bar owner.
Yep.
He was going to school to be what?
An astronomer?
No. Would you like to try again?
Junior spaceman.
No, definitely
I don't know.
Way off. Chemical engineer.
Oh, all right.
Chemical engineer. No points. No points this round, James. So that's my trivia. I do have Would you consider it a country music award for Mistral? For poking her nose in other people's business?
Mistral?
Yeah.
No. And the reason is this. When Janeway, who is the originator of the Sticking Your Nose in Other People's Business Award,
yes,
she is doing it against their wishes. Like, she usually is deciding
that's what Mistral is doing.
No. Mistral is helping them. He's going against Tamir's order not to get involved. He considers himself a minor just with the rest of the guys. He's helping his friends. Mm-hmm. When Janeway does it, it's all of a planet going, we don't want your help. We got this fine. And it's Janeway usually coming in going, no. This is the right answer, and I'm going to force it on you.
Okay, that's how you're qualifying the Country Music Award.
For Janeway, yes. I think so.
Enough.
So I don't think that's what he was doing.
All right. I thought it was a bit of a stretch, but I thought I'd throw it in there because there was that conflict. I had no other awards. There was no Coco Nono award. There was no No Grumba award. There was no I wouldn't say a Shatner award for best dramatic performance. Everyone was good.
No, everyone was solid.
Equally solid. So I didn't feel like anybody really went into the Shatner tone.
And Cusack, I think her name Anne Cusack. I think
that's right.
She was very good.
Oh yeah.
You know, she had this very
even the actor who played her son, who we can't remember where he's from.
Yeah, I did look him up. Nothing stuck out. I think he's just reminiscent of someone.
Maybe so.
But she had this very accessible quality that you just instantly liked her. She was
I think that's why she was cast.
Perfectly cast.
Yeah. Well, I did have in terms of it's either best of, worst of. It could either be in terms of scenes or lines. I think probably one of the best lines was, again, it was the I Love Lucy line, but also was the line where Mistral and Maggie are in the car after their date.
Oh, yeah.
And she kisses him, and he says, oh, it was very pleasant. And she's a bit taken aback by that response.
Well, it's been a long time since I've kissed a man.
She thought she was expecting something more passionate, and his retort was, well, I said very pleasant, and I like that. But also I enjoyed, which I also consider to be kind of a best moment, was the fact that she kissed him.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I like it.
Well, they really did that well, where
they let the moment linger.
That moment happens where you're like, she's expecting it, and he has absolutely no idea
what's going on.
What's supposed to happen.
So she takes the initiative and kisses him.
Yeah.
But I bring it up because sometimes I like the woman to do the work. But that's only some of the time.
Don't we all? It's always nice when they make us not put ourselves out there. Don't feel bad. You're not editing yourself anymore, remember?
Yeah, that's true.
No editing.
That's what I just said it for.
Be honest, exactly.
I am being honest. That's why I said it.
I know, and I'm applauding you for it.
Okay.
Good job.
I also enjoyed the moments where... I can't bring up bad moments. There were no bad moments. This episode was just quality. The reaction from the actor when he saw the Velcro, I liked.
Ooh.
What is this?
He just kept back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, that was clever. So, what would you like to grade the episode?
Ooh, all right. I'm going to give it an A+. Wait, stop.
Okay.
What did we give Dear Doctor?
An A+.
I think this is an A+.
I think so
for
too.
Different reasons, but it's an
absolutely.
A+.
But I think so. It's not. It's a.
I can't fault anything.
It's a completely different kind of tone and story.
But that's not a bad thing. It's just a different story.
No, I mean
it does what it does.
I would say chocolate and vanilla are both A+, but they taste completely different.
Perfect analogy.
Yes, this episode is an A+. I agree.
Yes, it is.
I think it's
just like
hands down one of the best.
Changeling and City on the Edge of Forever are two completely different episodes, but they're both A+. You know? Yes.
Yeah, there's nothing I'd really want to change about it. It's just good. It was a simple story, and I'm glad that right out of the gate after we had the 2-part of Shockwave, where we were a bit disappointed by the first part, but the second part brought it back and made it enjoyable again. Where it was an action suspense story.
Right.
We get a simple story.
Yeah.
It's like after Best of Both Worlds, we got the family episode in TNG.
Yeah, damn fine episode too.
And it's a great episode, but it's it's totally different.
Yeah.
It's not at all like Best
It's
of
just
Both
a character
Worlds.
piece.
It's a character piece, totally character. And you get to sit with these characters.
Things slow down.
You get to see Picard break down. You get to see Worf with his parents, and it's awkward. And
I tried so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Fantastic.
So
When the culmination to an episode is two drunk guys fighting in a vineyard in
I
mud.
don't think they were drunk yet. They got drunk later, I think.
You're right.
Yeah.
But two old guys fighting in mud in a vineyard, when that's your finale and it works, you've done something right, you know? And you feel the relief of them drunk. Bom, be bom, be bom, be bom.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you wanted to say about this episode?
No.
Okay.
I know I said to you just from a brief glance at the episodes coming, I feel like this second season is going to be stronger than what we ultimately felt with the first season.
Well, they're starting off really strong.
They did. They're off to a good start.
But you know what I'm really glad of?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No.
Was the fact that, yes, we agree, but also the internet agreed.
Yeah.
Those voters on IMDb, they also liked this episode. They saw the quality in it. And a lot of people, I was afraid, would think it was slow after something like when we got Shockwave, that they wouldn't appreciate this different kind of story. And I'm glad that they do like it.
Yeah.
That gives me hope that about the people that still watch Star Trek.
Right.
That they see what it can be.
I
don't know who watches Star Trek now. Like, I mean, modern Star Trek, whatever, the postmodern version that we called it.
I don't know.
Star Trek, what's it called? Discovery,
Strange
Picard,
New Worlds.
Strange New. I don't know who watches these things, but somebody must. And it boggles my mind.
I have stopped.
Because if you
After Rhapsody in Space, I'm done.
Okay.
With
the musical
postmodern
episode,
Trek.
the musical episode. If they watch it, right? And I'm not talking about people that are our age or close to it. I mean, younger people. Do they even?
They don't.
Have they ever watched the older Star Trek? Because I can't
don't
imagine
think
they
so.
could have, because they wouldn't like it at all.
No.
And they would think it would be totally alien to them.
I don't know who the audience is for modern Trek or postmodern Trek. I don't know. I can tell you that as someone that did watch Discovery up until the fourth season, they're doing the fifth and final is about to roll now, and I will not watch it. I'm not going to give them my time anymore. I watched that for 4 years because I was a Star Trek fan. I was not a Star Trek Discovery fan, and I will never be. It's awful. And it got progressively worse with every episode. And I remember watching it with my son, and I know at one point he said, "Why are we watching this?" And I said, "I don't know." Just like with the Star Wars TV shows, I've been watching them because I'm a Star Wars fan, but they're not good. There may be a light here and there that shines through, but on a whole, they're not good. Discovery is not good at all. The only good thing about Discovery was the season where Anson Mount was on there. Outside of that, it's a dumpster fire. And it's the most beautiful looking dumpster fire I've ever seen, but it's garbage. Picard, you watched one episode with me because it was the finale of season 3 where the whole cast, the Enterprise is back and all that. But even then, you were like, this isn't my Star Trek.
It was not good.
And you were watching it going, this is...
No,
you were like,
it was fun.
That's not how this character acts.
No. It was fun to see the callbacks,
sure, the novelty of it.
But that's not substance.
No, I know,
not at all.
You didn't watch seasons 1 through 2 or all of 3. You just watched the finale.
Yeah, just that finale.
And I only watched it because I was a Next Generation fan. But I watched it in dismay for almost every minute of every episode because what I was watching was not Star Trek. And
well, I knew we'd crossed the threshold. I mean, collectively as a culture here.
Yeah.
When I saw a scene from that musical episode of, I think it was Strange New Worlds, and I thought, okay, we've crossed the Rubicon here. There's no going back anymore.
You can't go back after that.
They've crossed the point of no return.
You can't go back from hip hop dancing Klingons.
What the hell was that? What I just watched was not Star Trek. That was Star Trek with shit all over its face. I don't know what I don't get it. Like,
I wonder what Rick Berman thinks of modern day Trek. Since he held the baton for he ran Star Trek for longer than Roddenberry did.
The writers of those shows,
yeah,
their heads are so far up their own asses.
Oh yeah,
they think,
and what the actors too. Honestly,
okay. Well, I can't say that to all them, yes, I cannot say that about all the actors. Actors are so desperate for work; they'll do anything.
No. I mean, I've seen interviews with them. They're drinking the Kool-Aid.
They're being interviewed. Of course, they're going to say whatever they have to say.
I guess that's true.
But those writers in the writers' rooms, they live in a bubble. They think they're making something socially significant, but it isn't. And
no one will watch this.
I think Chado on YouTube, you told me, he put it, I saw the video, you mentioned it, where he was talking about original Star Trek and why they don't like it. The modern writers, that is. And he had said, well, the difference is between original Trek and what we have now is that diversity they had on the Enterprise was not what the show was about.
It was just there.
It was just something that was there, and they accepted it. Where that came in was through other alien races, when they encountered other alien races. That's where the allegory came in. Not them. They just lived and worked together. And it was never the basis of the show. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what it was.
But you're right. In Discovery and in Strange New Worlds, it's about the diversity. And that's what it's about.
And they make no secrets about it.
No, they don't. Not one bit. I mean, heck, man. And it's not like the original series did not call attention to their enlightened attitude. I just watched 2 nights ago the Savage Curtain episode, the second to last episode, third to last episode, I think, of the original series. And that's where they go to a planet where the rock monster can read their minds.
Doesn't it have smoke coming out?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Kirk and Spock go down there.
Is that just a coincidence that Shatner wanted a rock monster for Star Trek 5?
I think that's just a coincidence.
Okay.
But in that episode, this rock monster reads Kirk and Spock's minds and creates their heroes. And so Abraham Lincoln appears floating in front of the Enterprise and then is on the planet. Sirach for Spock. But there's a scene where Lincoln
runs into
is beamed up to the Enterprise. Yes. And he walks onto the bridge and he's being introduced to everyone. And Kirk says, "Oh, this is Lieutenant Uhura." And he says, "Oh, the charming negress." Because that's in his time, just that it wasn't a negative connotation at all. And he noted her reaction just as a little like, "Oh, well, that came out of nowhere." And he apologized and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry. In my time, I understand that might have been looked at poorly. I'm sorry if it came off that way." And she said, "Why would I be offended by words? I know who I am. And, basically I know you didn't mean anything. So what's the problem?" And he's like, "You're right. Moving on." That was it. But that was done in context, whereas like Chado pointed out, in Discovery or Strange New Worlds, it is literally in conversation. You're the best this because you're a proud woman, and you're the best this because you're a proud gay, bi, black,
trans,
I
have to take
whatever
your word
man.
for this, but do they actually use those kind of phrases in dialogue? Do they refer to their sexuality or
there was a scene
to their gender
in Discovery where a character, whose honestly name I'm forgetting because the character is of no consequence to me, is talking to the gay character of the show, one of the gay characters, there's more than one, who's the engineer. And he says something like, "Oh, let me send you her, let me send her over to you." And he's referring to this character. And this character is seemingly uncomfortable with something he's saying. And they're friends. And he looks over to him and he says, you all right? And this character, who everyone at that point would refer to as a she because she looks like a girl, said they. And he goes, "What?" He's confused. And she goes, I think of myself as non-binary, so I prefer they." And he gives her this proud, dignified look and says, "Okay, that's it." And you're like, I cannot believe I just spent time on this right now.
They use The phrase non-binary?
All in there.
Oh
every
God.
bit of it. Every single bit of it. And every member of that bridge crew is a form of diversity. There is no white male on that ship on Discovery that is not a minority in one. There's a white man, but he's gay and he's dating a black man. So
is that Adventures in Babysitting?
it is.
Okay.
And that the guy, his boyfriend, husband is the what is he? The engineer in Supernova.
Oh God, I have no idea.
That calls the computer sweetie and all that.
That guy?
Yeah. Who's really actually really, really good in Discovery. He's got a quality. It's a shame he's wasted on the show because he's really very good. But the only...
Wasn't he on My So-Called Life?
I think he was.
Yeah,
there's a throwback. I think he was. He's really grown into, like, even my son and I, when we will watch it, we're both like, we really like this guy. Like, he needs more screen time. But in Strange New Worlds, the only straight white male character is
Captain Pike.
Captain Pike. And he is, I don't want to say demasculinized. Is that a word?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think it is either. It didn't feel right.
Do you want to say cut his balls off?
They do that,
yeah,
but they try to do it in a way that makes you think they're not doing that, but they do that. He doesn't really run that ship. He runs that ship by consensus. Does everyone feel okay with that? Is everyone okay with my decisions? Okay, we'll do that then. I'm the captain. Mm-hmm. You know, they took it. It's sad. It's not how a military ship is run. Everyone is called by their first names, you know.
What they've done is, by that musical episode,
yeah,
they've turned it into a farce.
Absolutely, 100%. I can't watch it anymore.
If I had seen that, if they had done a musical episode of TNG, they would have might as well just...
There was a deleted scene with Picard singing.
Where?
Remember? But it was a gift to Gene Roddenberry.
So yes,
it was like a hat. I know.
He's got a cane and a hat.
Yeah.
No. That wasn't.
That
part
was
of
delightful.
That no.
Q. It was great fun.
Yeah. Well, if they had done that
for real,
they might as well just thrown the series in the trash at that point, because no one's going to respect them anymore.
Nope.
The same thing if the original series had done it. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not what... God, I have to keep saying this. That is not what Star Trek is about.
It's not.
I don't know how many times myself, you, all the other Star Trek fans out there, the real Star Trek fans, have to say it.
That's not Star Trek.
You do not know what the fuck you are doing. You are ruining everything that was once good. You just totally whizzed it down your leg, and it's a shame. And it's really hard to watch. To know that that's happening. I don't watch it, but to know that that's happening, it's a shame.
I sincerely do not believe, not because I'm a hater of the show, but because I think, being critically honest about the show, I don't think 40 years from now, anyone is going to go back to Star Trek Discovery and go, no, I just love those characters. I watch it for the characters. No, it's going to be unwatchable, honestly. But no one's going to say that because the characters are all non-entities. They're all perfect. They're all geniuses. They're all the best at what they do. They all congratulate each other. There's no, they're all perfect, and it's boring because they're perfect. Mm-hmm. I know I don't like these either, and I hate myself for having watched it. But I told you about it, and you tried one, and you couldn't get more than like 5 minutes. But those YouTube watch reaction videos.
Oh, yeah, right.
And there was that girl that was reviewing the Star Trek movies, and she enjoyed them. She was watching them, and she looks like she's in her late 20s, early 30s at absolute most. Mm-hmm. And she enjoyed them. Mm-hmm. And then she went back, or actually, let me rephrase that. She actually started by watching, I think it was 5 episodes of the original series. She's clearly not someone who watched shows from the 60s.
No.
She had been exposed to some of TNG from her father, she said, but she had never seen TOS. She didn't even know who the characters' names were. So she watched it and she came away going, it is 60s, but she said, I just got into the stories and the characters were so interesting. Mm-hmm. And she watched like people recommended to her that the best 5 to watch. And she watched like City on the Edge of Forever amongst them. Mm-hmm. And she just absolutely got into the dynamics between the characters
Yeah.
and all of that. So it just goes to show you that if you put something quality in front of people, they will respond. They may feel the dated nature of it,
Right.
but she was into it.
Well, I really don't like that criticism. Not that I never did it when I was young, but when you introduce something to someone and it's older,
Yeah.
their first criticism is it's old.
Yeah.
And they just immediately discount it. Your son does this a lot.
I know. I know.
He does not like black and white movies.
I know. It breaks my heart.
He won't even give them a chance.
Nope.
But even older ones in color. But I remember, not just your son, but kids of that generation.
Sure.
When I would mention something to them from the 80s or the 90s, I can understand their first reaction being, oh, that's old. I'm like, well, yeah, to you, I guess it seems that way, sure. But they're not even willing to consider it. And, like that girl who was watching Star Trek, she said, oh, well, it's 60s right there. Because it's 60s, she thinks it's going to be backwards. Like but
she was proven wrong.
Yes, but she already had that.
She had an idea of what it, yes.
Yeah, she had that.
She was also referring to the look of the show. It just clearly it was of the 60s.
But that's the kind of trap that I think like the writers of Star Trek nowadays are getting into. They think because it was made in the 60s, because it has William Shatner in it, it's backwards. It wasn't evolved, like we are now. We know better now. We're better people than they were. I'm like, fuck you, man.
I know.
What the hell do you know?
I know.
You're making shit for a living. It's like you know nothing. I feel bad wasting my passion on.
I feel bad for the generation of people out there, the younger generation, that are growing up with art forms. Film and television in its best incarnations is art. Just like music in its best incarnations is art. So much of it is garbage. Even the time that I grew up in, most of it is garbage. But there are pieces that stand out as art.
Yeah,
I
like
think.
Ghost Dad and Leonard Part 6.
Fucking fun movie. Anyway, the point being is that I feel sorry for this younger generation that is growing up in an almost artless...
In a void.
Yeah. They literally don't know what they're missing.
They don't know what good is.
They don't. They haven't seen it. They have no idea.
Like, and you had said this the other day, like, I think, like you said, Star Trek Voyager, no, like Star Trek, the new Star Trek, it makes Voyager look like Shakespeare or something. It does. Like that. Like you're not kidding. I know that people think you're being hyperbolic when you say something like that, but it's true. Like, it really is. Like, they were actually making stories with actual like ideas in them. This wasn't about a person and their pronouns. Like no. I really don't know what they're doing. I really don't understand what they're doing.
And it's across all genres. All IPs. All of it. That they're all stuck.
No, and Star Trek, yes, I agree. But Star Trek Enterprise, I mean, this wasn't even that long ago. We're talking about 15 to 20 years ago. And what the hell has happened? I mean, people gave Star Trek Enterprise a lot of grief.
Yeah.
But and we do too, to some extent.
Sure.
We just watched the whole season of it. We gave plenty of episodes bad grades. But when it worked, it really worked.
Yeah. And they were still trying to tell good stories at the end of the day. Yes, they were.
And it looks much better now in contrast to this stuff that they're making now.
Yes. I would rather watch the worst of Enterprise than any Discovery episodes. They're that bad.
Even Rogue Planet?
Even Rogue Planet, man.
Okay.
Honestly, that's how much I dislike Discovery. I wanted to love Strange New Worlds. I tried so hard, but man... what magic Anson Mount brought to that second season of Discovery, they robbed of him.
When I don't think we've ever mentioned this while recording, but when before Star Trek Picard came out, I think this is long before even any of these new Star Trek series came out. Like, we had heard that they were maybe planning one or something like that, and No. I think it was, we knew that Patrick Stewart was making a Star Trek show. We didn't know what it was going to be.
Right.
And we were like, you know what they should do? Basically turn it into a Star Trek season 8.
Season 8.
That's TNG season 8. And they take their adventures from there. We gathered them all up again. You know, they've all separated, gone off and done their own thing. And that's eventually what they did. That's eventually what they did. And I'm like, well, you know, no shit. Because
the response to seasons 1 and 2 were so bad.
But it's like, you know what? That's what we wanted to see. We wanted that old feeling back because it's been taken from us.
Yep.
And maybe that's why we're clinging to old things so much nowadays. Because the stuff they're giving us now is so horrible. Because the expression,
they don't make it like that anymore, really applies
today.
Yeah. Because they don't. You could say that, you could go to any time frame and say, well, they don't make it like that anymore, whatever. But really today, I really feel like you said, it's a void. Yeah. It's a void of,
you know, like the
expression.
This episode,
artistic expression.
This show just came out called Echo.
Yeah.
And I had no idea I didn't know what it was. I saw it in the newspaper, and it said, I think it was,
it's an indigenous deaf superhero.
That was like the headline. It was like indigenous deaf woman star of. I was like, okay, clearly their priorities are backwards. They've forgotten that the story needs to come first.
Yeah.
I don't care about those things, and I don't think a lot of other people do either. If I don't care about this person, I don't care who she is. It's the same when it comes to a person's story from any different culture. You're not going to relate to them of things you don't understand or things you don't share in common. You're going to relate to them on the things that you do.
Do you remember that show Reasonable Doubt from, I want to say it was the 90s, Reasonable Doubts?
No, I don't think
with
so.
Mark Harmon and Marlee Matlin. She was
vaguely.
deaf.
Oh, yeah.
And she was a lawyer. He was a cop, I think. And I mean, it's been a long time, but here we have a character who is deaf, just like this Echo character. And while that is a huge part of that person, it's not what the show was about. That was just...
It was a draw because she was...
It made it interesting.
She was an interesting actress.
But it didn't hang on that.
No, it didn't.
It told stories. And it told stories that benefited from her deafness, whether it be through reading lips or something like that. And it also... There was detriments.
Yeah. It was the same when she was guest starring in that Seinfeld episode.
Yeah. But what the show was not about, you would never say, oh, Reasonable Doubts. Oh, it's about that deaf lawyer. That's not what the show was about.
No, it has a deaf lawyer.
It has a deaf lawyer in it. That's the difference.
Yeah.
The original series had a black woman on the bridge, but at no point was that called out, other than Abraham Lincoln. But I mean, come on, the man's from the 1800s.
Yeah, they knew they were being provocative when Shatner kissed Nichelle Nichols, but their characters, it wasn't provocative.
No,
not to them,
and not one person talked about it.
No,
once.
Their characters.
Their characters.
Their characters. It wasn't for them, but in the reality of making show,
sure.
Yes, they knew it would be.
Yeah, but the characters never spoke of it because, just like Chatto said,
that wasn't what it was.
Well, what Chatto said was, if gender politics were to continue on the way it is and all of that into the time of Star Trek Discovery, where that takes place, he said, do you really think people would still be talking about it?
Right.
It would just be normal. No one would talk about it.
Yeah.
And he said that's what the original series did. It was just there. No one talked about it.
And doesn't it feel insulting? I mean, you would think that the people that maybe they do like stories about indigenous people or deaf people or gender confused people, but don't they feel like they're being pandered to when they have a scene that is so obvious?
I would think so, but I can't say that. I mean, I don't think any scenes pander to me, but I think I would feel it if it did. I'd like to think. I don't know. We're white men, so I mean, I guess people would say everything panders to you, But I would think so. I would think it would be insulting,
Yeah.
to say, because you think people of that gender or that race
It's
or
like, well,
whatever.
What does that really do for you? Like, what? So what? Like, what does that mean? Like, is that all you are? Mm-hmm. Is that all you are? I've seen that label.
Interviews or read interviews with people of color that have responded to, say, the notions that the next James Bond be black or something to that effect. And, or even,
I will not use that phrase.
No, you know what? Let me use a perfect example.
I refuse.
Star Trek Beyond, right?
Yes.
The character of Sulu was made gay. Not in the first two. You don't see any inclination of that. And Takei, a gay man, the original Sulu, said, I don't like that. You're pandering.
Yeah. Clearly you're pandering.
And as a gay man, he said that, first of all, that's not how I played. He said, Sulu is straight. A character.
Yes.
I am a gay man. I played him straight. You're doing that because I'm gay. That's pandering. That's crap.
And I'm a good actor because you never realized that in life I'm really gay, but my character wasn't.
Exactly. And I think he was 100% right because that was pandering.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Say what you will about him. He's a prima donna, but
sure, whatever. But he's right. I felt he was right about that.
Absolutely right about that.
Absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
And hit it on the head. It did not need to be there. You know? So it just shows you how backwards things are now. Everyone's doing it for the effect, not because it's a natural part of it. It's
to coin a common phrase, virtue signaling.
That's exactly what it is.
That's all it is. Mm-hmm. You got to put those points in,
but
not actually do anything about it. Like, it's like Seinfeld. You have to wear the AIDS ribbon. Well, I don't want to wear the AIDS ribbon. Why not? Aren't you against AIDS? But I don't want to wear it.
So you support
but you have
AIDS?
to wear it. No, that's why I don't want to wear it, because you want me to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have to wear the ribbon. You have to show that you're against it. If you don't, then you're a bad person.
Exactly.
And I hate this.
I know that's
so
what
much.
everything is now. You're either with us or you're against us. You can't be neutral. There is no neutral anymore.
I never thought that I would be, an older person and I would be feeling this way.
You're cockers.
That I would be feeling that I'm being made to feel like I'm backwards now. Mm-hmm. When I grew up, when you grew up in the 80s and 90s, I thought we were a pretty enlightened, not always, but that we had it seemed like society had really come a long way. Like things weren't that bad, like compared to what they used to be like.
Sure.
I was like, man, things are moving along. The country's not that bad. Things are okay.
We were making movies like Schindler's List and Barbed Wire at the same time, and the world did not explode. Everything was working.
But things like making Barbed Wire, it was gratuitous, but it was okay.
Yep.
People knew exactly what it was for, but they were like, yeah, it is what it is.
Yep.
I mean, this Baywatch was on TV for 8 years?
Yeah.
Everybody knew why they watched that show, and everybody was okay with it. Yep. It was fine.
It was TNA, it was what it was.
And they're like, hey, that's fine.
Yep.
That's fine. You don't have to like it, but...
So someone's watching.
Clearly, people must like it in some way.
Yeah.
So why is that? You got to deal with it, man.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is. That's what living in a free society is all about.
I agree completely.
You want to wrap this up?
I think we're there.
Well, if you'd like to send us any hate mail, it's still the same address, podcastnx01@gmail.com. No, they are listening. They want to write to us, podcastnx01@gmail.com.
Tell us your thoughts.
And you can send me hate mail or hate comments, direct comments on my X. It's not Twitter anymore. It's X.
Yeah, whatever.
At Josh from Mars. Maybe you should get one of those.
That's all right. People will just
I consider it my professional handle. That's all.
That's cool. Well, if you have something to say about me, and I'm sure you do, please send it to Josh's email for me.
Or create a rival podcast and just talk trash about us the whole time. That would also be acceptable. Oh, I forgot to ask. What is next?
I thought you didn't want to know ahead of time.
Well, I don't want to know in advance of too many episodes, but when it's coming up next, yes, I do want to know that.
All right, just give me 2 seconds. Let's see. Minefield. Ooh. It's a good one.
Okay, I remember that being good.
That's the one where, please, Captain, may I have some more? That's a good episode. I remember anyway.
Okay. Toodaloo, I guess. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think we're
bye. Bye. I can't say toodaloo. Give me something else.
See you next time.
Hasta luego. Diplomatic community.
It's just been revoked.
Yeah, let's go off on that.